Go-getter and jet-setter Charlë Webb is a luxury real estate professional with an extensive background in the arts as an accomplished actress, writer, and producer for film and television. And she's a lifelong New Yorker. Finding success in love and life is all about finding your fit. In this conversation, Charlë Webb shares how she tailored her life to find success. Closing multi-million-dollar deals in New York's luxury real estate market, not something that you do overnight. Question for you, as a top realtor in New York City, please share your journey with us, Charlë. Please tell us about the obstacles you overcame along the way that led to your incredible success.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, it's been a journey to get to this destination. Where should we start? I started out in my early 20s in commercial real estate. And, no one ever told me, I was lucky enough to have parents that always never told me that I could never do anything, right? So whatever I wanted to do, I could do it. And I thought to myself, well, I want to sell these big buildings in New York. I want to be part of making the structure. And I got into the real estate world. And at the time, I had blonde hair and, it was blonde and curly and natural, which was not, something that was normally seen, X many years ago. And I would show up to meetings and people would just be like, oh, wow, I didn't expect to, see me, right? So,
yeah.
I sound different on the phone, people would say, and kind of understood what that meant underneath. And first things first, I'm a woman. That was hard enough in commercial. Second, showing up, being a Black woman in commercial, there was no representation. And, moving forward throughout my career, I worked for the W after commercial. I wanted to get into hospitality, loved to, own a hotel, run a hotel later on in life. I then went into residential, and again, it was this no representation, and representation, as we all are starting to understand in the world, is so, so important. Because if you don't see anyone like you, you start to believe that it's not for you. Oh, well, no one like me, is in the industry, so, it's going to be too hard and I can't do it and I don't want to be the first. And I never really, turn that off, sorry. I never really thought that way, but I did see it. At least for real estate, I was lucky enough to grow up in a real estate family. But, if I had grown up, and wanted to be in the art world, as far as maybe an art dealer, maybe I would have thought differently. Right. So I'd already seen my parents' success. So I thought to myself, they can do it, I can do it. I don't see why, right? It's a bit of mental nepotism, right?
Yeah.
And if you see your parents doing it, you know that you can. It's learned behavior. And I got into residential. Commercial will always have a place in my heart because, big grand goals, all those things. And, I own a building with my sister, so I understand real estate on every level, but it's the community of brokers and the community of the world that has to get used to you being in that space. And so back to representation, it's harder for customers to take you maybe seriously because they don't see you as, what they've been known to see in leadership positions in real estate. Mm-hmm. It's, to be fair, and to be frank, it's, mostly people who are not of color and male. And I walk into the door and I have to immediately come up against this subconscious that I know that sorry, New York.
Hey.
So subconsciously, they have to get over this, oh, Black woman, wasn't expecting that because there is no representation of me in the field. And I already know that. So I have to come up behind it with all my skill set, things that I've done. But it's this perceived idea of what someone in my field should look like that I have to get past, so that it doesn't have to be based on anything besides like, this is what is normal.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? If you say, look at Jackie Robinson, there was no other Black baseball players before him. Mm-hmm. And people really had to come outside the box and say, oh, well, Black people can play baseball? And then he was so legendary, and it grew and it became normal to have any ethnicity now in baseball. Mm-hmm. So similar approximation where people ask me, Charlë, why don't you do X, Y, Z in your career? And I say to them, okay, well, show me another Black woman that you know in this sphere. Just name me one. Give me one name. And they're just looking at me. And I'm like, aha. Like, aha. And I say, okay, name me 5 maybe white men, 5 maybe white women. You could probably give me 20 off the top of your head. And so the representation isn't there. And it's taken me double the time to get half as far, because I have to get past people's ideas of, well, this person isn't normally what I see in this industry, and I don't know if that makes me feel safe. I'd rather go with someone else who is either socioeconomically what I think, may be more me, or, oh, they hang out at the same places, or, they look like me, right? And you can say this in any industry, but it's this sort of safety of, this person looks like me, is like me. And I have to get past that and get to, this is just brass tacks. This is just me. I'm good at my job. I think I'm likable. and you're gonna love it. But it's been a climb. And I have to, when I got into residential real estate, I realized I had to get the community of brokers used to me first, right? Mm-hmm. Brokers are a specific breed of cat, right? And I thought, let me get the community knowledgeable of my personality, who I am, so that they know when they are dealing with me, that they're dealing with a well-spoken, knowledgeable person, right? Mm-hmm. So that's first rung. And then after that, it's saying, okay, now I have to back that up with like sales. So building that from my book of business and saying, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And when I first met Frederick and John for $1 Million Listing, I thought to myself, well, these 2 men come from what you wouldn't normally think in the real estate industry to be the representation of, right? John is, BIPOC, and Frederick comes from another community. So these are 2 men that didn't fit the mold, if you will. And I thought, what better team to help me along my path than people who understand what it is to sort of be on the outside and make people realize like, oh, wow, this is the representation that I want to sell my luxury real estate. This is not like, it's not normal. This is like what I want every day. Mm-hmm. And so they've really helped to, build me up as a person and say that I can sell anything, anywhere, to anyone, at any time. Don't worry. Like, we've got your back. We've done over $4 billion in sales. Like, if someone doesn't like you, that's on them. That is their issue, right? So having that community of them around me has been really helpful. And I've had to be very strategic in my career, how I've moved. And I had to be, 4 times as knowledgeable when I walk into that room, because a lot of the times they're just going to look over me, and I've had to deal with that. But being on their team has really given me, bolstered me up.
Mm-hmm.
So wow. It's been a great process.
Wow, quite a process. And but look, here you are doing what you do, the way and how you do it. It's and it inspires. I love that you speak about it. There wasn't representation for you to look to, but now with you being there, perhaps that's the reason you stay exactly where you are, because that is so needed.
It is so needed. And I want to be that representation for younger Black women coming up in the fields, because there's maybe one more of me out here operating at this level. And I think it's important to let them know that, you can do this, you are worthy, you're smart enough, you're good enough, and you can operate in these circles, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't. Here I am, direct representation. You can call me if you need, I know it's hard, and we don't have the same maybe nepotism, but I'm here for the mentorship.
That's amazing.
And way to build on anything.
That's amazing, and that's incredible. And just for them to see you doing what you're doing and to see your success, but also to hear that you've gone through some of these things. And so when they go through those things, to say, I'm not alone in this. I can make it through. I can push through that ceiling, because case in point. Yeah.
It will take time, it will take time, but like anything else, change takes time. And I'm here for the positive reinforcement and representation that you can, as a Black woman, be in this field and operate at a luxury level.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Talented producer, writer, actress, you have worn many hats and worn them all well. So outside of real estate, there's a lot of other things you've been successful at in your life. So when it comes to the world of arts and entertainment, for a moment here, what hat was your personal favorite and why?
Well, honestly, I love voiceover. Voiceover for me, I will always love, I'm always a performer. I'm a very performative, person, and I think the highlight of my career was being on the HBO's The Undoing. That was definitely the highlight. I met Hugh Grant and Nicole Kidman, Donald Sutherland, and I had a little rom-com moment with Hugh Grant in the makeup trailer, eating my breakfast burrito, and he walks in and he goes, "Oh, hello, I'm Hugh," and I was like, "It's Charlie," mouthful of breakfast burrito. So embarrassed. I'm like, "Yes, Hugh, I know who you are. I'm aware of you." This is the perfect moment, but that was definitely a highlight of my career. I do love voiceover as well. I think there's a peacefulness to it. Your own voice in your head, which you always have. I think it's I like to sort of play with the levels, and for me that's just a fun thing I like to do. I think it's important to have business and creative outlet. In the world we live in now, I think people don't put you in a box as much as they used to. You're allowed to be multifaceted without it taking away from what they perceive to be your main job, right? It can only add.
Right.
That's what I believe. There's certain things, you get knowledge from different things that you do in your life. You become a multi-layered individual.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I can imagine too, when it comes to real estate and having these interactions and engagements, in addition to selling a property, you are selling yourself.
You need to be personable. People need to like you first and foremost. I've had people buy apartments from me, the broker call me and say, the father really loved you, so we're gonna give an offer on this, and I'm like, okay, great. It's important to me to have a good tete-a-tete with people. It's important to be well perceived. It's intrinsic, I think, to getting things done. And I'm just naturally a happy person, and I think that comes through. And that's sort of the basis for everything that I do. Just being a happy, positive person. And people always ask me, where do you get your energy from? I'm like, straight shot from God. I don't even know. Sometimes I'm doing things and people are like, where? And I'm like, I don't know. I need to sleep well last night. I feel exceptionally lucky to have that. But yeah, it makes you a multi-layered human being. And I think it only adds to it, being able to, have the conversation, adjust for the influence of the other person, as an actor, that, you have to do that. Listen, take the person in, respond, really hear what they want. And that absolutely helps me in real estate. Knowing what your client wants, seeing how they feel in a space, noticing what they're pointing out, where their eyes go. You have to really pay attention, because it's this sort of subconscious thing that they do. People don't even realize when they're in a space. And I'm like, oh, I see that you really like that, or you don't love that, or this opens up, and people are like, oh yeah, I was looking at that. So it's important to really pay attention, because it's not just like, hey, do you like this? Great, open door, closed door.
Right.
It's so much more than that.
Right. It's so nuanced. And wow. So it's, yeah.
Not everyone's going to like you either. So the best you can do is just be yourself, be positive, upstanding, and good. And that's it. You take it from there.
Awesome. Well, you know, so you found success in a number of ways. But it's not only in your professional life, in your personal life as well. So congratulations on your marriage last May. Congratulations to you. Secrets of success to share there. Because I stalked you for a moment on Instagram, you and Janae.
That's okay. I'm stalk-worthy. It's stuck away.
I mean, you and your guy are separated due to COVID, right? So separated for taking your vows. For others who may be in the same kind of situation, bound by love, but separated by distance, what advice might you share?
Communication. That's it. Any way you can slice it. We are lucky to be living in this 21st century world where we have FaceTime and Zoom. Mm-hmm. Just be on there with them as much as you can if you're separated, and communicate, even in the monotony of life. If you're walking down the street and, you know, I have this thing where my shades always fall the back of my head. It's a classic Charlë thing. And I don't know why, it just always fall off my head. And, you know, I could be walking down the street talking to my husband and it's just like this little thing and he's laughing and I'm like, classic. And those little minutia moments, you know, you get that touch as much as you can without having the physical touch. Watch a movie, eat dinner, communicate. If you're having a bad day, if you really miss them, you know, anything that you can do to make yourself feel closer to that person is the best you can do for your relationship. Know what their love language is. Mm-hmm. So important. And also how you give love. How you give love is different than how you receive. And how they give may be different than how they receive. Mm-hmm. And know that. And really, when you're apart, if they're a person that likes gifts, it doesn't have to be Gucci, it can be gummy bears. You know, you can send them gummy bears from wherever you're at. And just let them know that you're thinking about them. You know, you can, if it's acts of service, you can order them something off of Amazon, you know, and just have it sent to the house. And they're like, where did this package come from? Oh, I ordered it from across the world, wherever you're at. Like, you know, engage. Because there's only so much like, how was your day? Before it starts to get monotonous.
Right,
you lose that touch, right? So communication, I know it may sound old hat, but it's the only hat you should be wearing.
You just set those other hats down, because when I love how you say, you know, it doesn't have to be Gucci, it could be gummy bears, that it's not, you know, it's the intention behind it, and the thought. Exactly. It truly is a thought that counts so much of the time.
Yes, it is. If I send you, I don't know, if I notice that you're running out of paper towels when we're on FaceTime, I can just, you know, oh, I noticed you're out. So, and it's just this weird little, oh, so sweet, so nice. And it goes both ways. Mm-hmm. I can do it, he can do it. You know, it's the thoughtfulness of knowing your partner, seeing what they need, and kind of really hearing where they're at. And if you're having a hard day, because it was very hard for us. We were apart for 10 months.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really, it was very, very emotionally trying. Yeah. And we had to learn that, relearn that. And I was lucky enough to see him after month 6. There was this law that was put into effect called Love is Not Tourism. And basically certain countries were open to you if you could prove basis of relationship. Like you were married, you had a child, you can show, you know, WhatsApps, text messages, pictures at the border. And because it wasn't tourism, we were doing that for love, to hold on to your relationship. And so, you know, we didn't see each other much. We saw each other 6 months, 9 months, and then he finally got back and realized he couldn't live without me.
And the rest is history in the making. That is so beautiful. You know, so while you are a lifelong New Yorker, you've already traveled to more places than most do in their entire lifetime. From what I've seen and heard, Venice, Bangkok, Tokyo, Hong Kong, to name a few. In all of your travels, all of them, if you could return to only one destination, what would it be and why?
Well, you know I'm going to say Paris.
Yes! We are sisters.
Let me tell you something. That's such a layered question for me, though, because Paris I go to like 3-4 times a year. So it's become less of, ooh, I have to go, and more, oh, I miss it, like a second home, right? So there's spots that I need to hit when I go there, and it's not like, ooh, I need to go to Peru, which I've been to, and climb Machu Picchu. But that's an experience. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty great. It's not a glamorous vacation, but you feel so accomplished when you do it. And so I think for me, of course I'll go back to Paris all the time, but anywhere with elephants. When I went to Thailand, that was like, I have a thing for elephants. If you know me, my house is a safari full of elephants. My dad always gets me these like wooden elephant structures, anywhere from this small to like really large. Yeah, like he's funny. He's funny that way. He knows my love language. Right?
Elephants it is.
But for me, the place that I want to go back to is a place I haven't been yet. I don't like to go to places twice. And there's such a big world out there. Until I feel like I've really kind of hit where I want to hit in the world, I don't like to really revisit. When I go somewhere, I like to spend like 2 weeks, and I like to go with someone who's from that country, Greece or India, wherever we're going. I want to get that sort of real life experience. So it's not just tourism for me. And that's how I've traveled to most places around the world, with some knowledge or someone with me who's from there. And yeah, the place I'd go back to is a place I haven't been yet.
I love that. That is the most perfect answer ever. This perfect woman I'm talking to today.
Not so.
So to get deeper yet, whether professional or personal, success in life is all about finding wins within losses. So, Charlë, please share a loss that you've experienced in your life where you were able to find a win within it.
It's hard for me to think of any bigger loss recently than losing my best friend in that Surfside building collapse. And people would say, what kind of win could you find from that? And it was recent, it was only 6 or 7 months ago. And it's been a very trying time. And the win that I get from that is really understanding the impermanence of life, and to make decisions while not being flighty, because you don't know how long you have here. Yeah. And for me, since then, every decision that I make is very, very pointed. I don't do things the way I used to anymore. And even in Cassie's death, she brings light to me. And, I looking at a picture of her right now behind this screen, and it made me cry. But it just reminds me that life is really fleeting, and every decision that you make has weight. And, just do whatever you want to do. Be a good person. Don't go crazy. But do whatever you want. Go crazy, but in a healthy way. Do whatever you want to do in life. Don't make concessions for people about who you are, or what you want to do. Don't self-limit. Go for the gusto. Yeah. Do whatever it is. You want to go back to school, go back to school. You want to have kids, you don't want to have kids. You want to travel the world, you want to go change your profession at 60, do it. Because you never know when that next step may be your last. And that is the win that I've learned from that experience. Life has a different meaning and a different weight, and everything I do now is done with her in mind, knowing that she would have loved to continue living and doing. And she always grabbed life by the horns, and she was like, whatever, yeah, I'm going to do it. That's what I loved about her. And I'm like, I'm going to make sure that I continue to do that. I want to say, I love you to my friends. I want to say, I love you to my family. I want to see them as much as I can, not just on Instagram, but in person. Remind them that I love them. I want to see them. I want to touch their face. You know, I want to travel the world. I want to have experiences with them as much as I can. And I want to be myself as much as I can. And you should also be yourself, anyone who's watching, as much as you can. Because I find that people know when you're faking it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just be yourself.
Wow. Well, that's a pretty major gift that was given, a pretty major insight, to pretty major win from a very hard loss. And I can't thank you enough for sharing that. And for sharing.
Cassie, you're here. I'm talking to you, through you, for you.
Indeed. I
like to keep present in all things that I do.
Indeed. Well, it's so beautiful. And I can just tell you, I just can't, I can't tell you, I can't thank you enough for really taking this time, Charlë. I really feel thankful for what you shared, and these insights that you've gained through your life, and the success that you've gained professionally, personally, the wins found and the losses. Thank you for helping all of us become a bit more aware now. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, and it's been nice. It's been nice. I love a good chat always. You can call me anytime. Always around for a chat. My favorite thing to do.
Thank you so much. So appreciate you.
Of course.